All right, welcome to another episode of Wonderful Garbage. Thanks for tuning in and listening. I know I said this in the last podcast, but what a week. It has been a crazy, busy week. Lots of Bravo related news, a lot of divorce news. There's like a lot of TV movie news. The Venice Film Festival started. The Paralympics started. So there is a lot to check out. Football season's here. We're so excited. NFL's almost starting. College has kicked off. I have a couple fantasy football drafts this weekend, so I'm excited to get those done. They're always fun to do. Always fun to get together and draft and talk some shit and hopefully get some cute players on your team. Okay, there is just a lot to discuss in this episode, so let's go ahead and get into our pop culture recap. Okay, let's get into it. So I finally watched the Dirty Pop Scandal documentary on Netflix. If you haven't seen it and were a fan of Backstreet Boys and NSYNC growing up, then you should check it out because it's wild. So the documentary follows a guy named Lou Pearlman, who was actually responsible for getting the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC together. He later also put together O-Town, if y'all remember them, LFO, Aaron Carter, a bunch of other bands. He had no music experience, just on a whim was like, hey, I'm going to be a music manager. He was in the aviation business, or at least that's what it seemed like he was in the aviation business. He had a company called Transcontinental. When it was starting out, he said he was leasing airplanes to different companies and musicians, and then he saw how much money musicians were paying for the planes and decided, oh, maybe I should get into the music business. There seems to be a lot of money there. He put out an ad for guys who wanted to be in a boy band. So the first one he put together was Backstreet Boys. He got a couple of managers who were working with New Kids on the Block at the time to come and help him create the boy band. And that's how Backstreet Boys was put together. A couple of the guys had already known each other, so they connected. I said Nick Carter had auditioned for Mickey Mouse Club at the time and was also auditioning for Backstreet Boys. He made the choice to go with Backstreet Boys. So this was the early 90s. They have footage, thankfully, which I love that a lot of the times they took their camcorders around. If you don't know what a camcorder is, wow. It's just a big video camera. Google it. So they were going and recording, and so they have a lot of footage from back in the day, which is really cool. And they started out just performing in school gyms. I was like, could you imagine being in one of those early concerts from the Backstreet Boys? That's so crazy. Lou seemed to have funded everything for them in the beginning, letting them stay at his house and getting them food and just everything so they could solely focus on practicing. They said they practiced in his airplane hangar back in the day, but weren't questioning anything because he was going to help them become a popular boy band and be their manager. So they were like, okay, cool, whatever. They were all really young too and first time in the music industry, so not really sure what to expect or how things were supposed to go, right? Apparently he invested in some blimps, advertising blimps. He was a part of the really big first McDonald's blimp that went out back in the 90s, and his blimps would crash. At least one of them crashed. And he said he was taking the insurance money from those crashes and then funneling it into this new music management business that he started. He sent the Backstreet Boys out to Germany for a bit because boy bands were really popular there. So he figured they could go get used to like performing for big crowds and getting their name out there and just having a lot of practice while also becoming popular out there in Germany. So they went and did that for a bit. He saw how successful they were getting, started performing for larger groups, getting bodyguards, things like that. And he thought, well, someone's gonna, like, we're gonna have some competition here, right? If this boy band's gonna be successful, who's to say another company who actually has music experience isn't going to create a rival band? So that's where NSYNC came from. Lou knew Chris Kirkpatrick, or knew of him at least, so reached out to him to get a band going. Chris knew Justin Timberlake, and then Justin Timberlake knew JC from the Mickey Mouse Club. Chris knew Joey Fatone, and then they ended up finding Lance, because they were like, we do need like a fifth person for the band. They ended up finding Lance through Justin. He knew him I think he was his cousin, I think. I'm not a good. I was a huge NSYNC fan growing up, and I just don't remember it back in the day. And yeah, so that's how NSYNC was born. They said that they felt like they had to outshine Backstreet Boys because they're the newer group and we need to prove ourselves. And the Backstreet Boys were already out there doing their thing. What can we do to make our mark as a new big boy band also? So they actually got a big break when they performed a Disney special. If you remember them, you probably remember that special. That's like when they started getting a lot of popularity. Backstreet Boys were asked to do it first, but they said no just because they had done a lot of touring and wanted to spend some time with their families. So NSYNC was like, we'll do it. And then they ended up getting signed to the same label as Backstreet Boys. And then they started realizing, like, hold on, we're performing a lot, we're getting a lot of eyes on us, and we're putting out albums and doing all these things, but like the checks that we're getting aren't really reflecting everything we've been doing. So they were like, okay, Lou, like, are you getting a bunch of our money? Like, what's going on? So it made it seem like Lou was pocketing a lot of the money. But then they were kind of conflicted. Like, they're like, well, Lou did give us our break. He's the one who got the bands together. He provides housing and food and practice spaces and things like that. He's getting us these gigs. So maybe he does deserve some money, but not as much as he's making. We find out later in the documentary that the music label was actually taking a really large portion of the Backstreet Boy and NSYNC profits. It wasn't really going to Lou. Lou really wasn't making too much from it, as it seemed. But Backstreet Boys and NSYNC felt conflicted. They were like, we're not, like, we can't continue this partnership. We don't want you to be our management anymore. They ended up suing him and settling, and Lou got $64 million in the settlement, which is wild. So it's like, how much were they actually making back then? Because if his settlement was that much, like, I can't even imagine. They also talked in the documentary that Lou considered himself a sixth member of each band, which I guess also would give him more money, and he continued to make money off of their record sales, even though he was no longer their manager. So, like, just like some shady, scheming stuff, trying to take money from these guys that were literally doing the performing. In the documentary, they interviewed some of Lou's friends and people that were a part of his music business. And they were like, Lou had no idea what he was doing. We had no idea what we were doing. Like, none of us had music experience, just the managers who came over from New Kids on the Block. But other than that, everyone was just like kind of there, kind of doing stuff. It seemed like some of Lou's staff that he had were childhood friends. So I guess people who he could trust and people that weren't going to question him as much. Versus him hiring newbies and them questioning and being like, what is going on here? Like, this doesn't make any sense. So after Backstreet Boys and NSYNC left, he wanted to create more bands. So he started the show Making the Band. And that's how O-Town was created. So in the documentary, you get some of the footage from that. He went on to create a bunch more bands. Some were successful, some weren't as successful. They were talking about, like, have there ever been any sexual assault allegations? And they were like, no. Like, no one has ever said, Lou made me feel uncomfortable. He said sometimes, like, he would ask them about their workout schedule and, like, hey, let me see your abs, which is creepy. And, like, was touchy-feely. They said, but he never did anything to anyone that's come out. So that's good given everything else we find out about him. So he's trying to build these bands. He's coming off still as if he has tons of money. He has multiple businesses. Like, he just put his money out into all kinds of things. He owns TCBY, the frozen yogurt company, or he has some franchises at the time, owns part of Chippendales, or at least like a section of the Chippendales. He has a steakhouse, and his friends in the documentary were just like, he just has like a weird flow of money. Like, you can never really pinpoint what exactly was making him the most money. It's just he always had money and just always had a lot of things going on. So when he went through the settlement with NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, he won $64 million, right? His lawyer was supposed to get part of that for lawyer fees, right? And that lawyer was supposed to get $16 million from the settlement that he helped Lou with. And Lou never paid him a dime. So then that lawyer was like, all right, you messed with the wrong guy. I'm going to come after you. And now I'm going to sue you for the money that you owe me. So he got sued. And that's when people started looking into his businesses more. Really getting financial records and seeing what was going on. So as part of his transcontinental empire, I guess we can call it, he would sell these things called employee investment savings accounts. And he would tell people, I'm going to give you a higher return than what you invest, right? It's always something like, sounds too good to be true. It probably is too good to be true. He would take the people who were going to invest, like, out to dinner, all these like lavish dinners. He'd pick them up in limos. He'd be dressed to the nines and wine them and dine them into convincing them to give him their money. They interviewed some people. They said, we gave him our life savings thinking, oh, okay, he's going to help. He's going to invest this into something and then we're going to make maybe double or just more than what we invested. This sounds great. Another couple said they invested their grandkids' college funds to help make some more money. Never got a return. To quote the wonderful Khloe Kardashian when she's yelling at Tristan Thompson, like when she finds out one of the times I think she finds out that he cheated and she's like yelling like, liar! That's what I felt like in this show. He's like, liar! I'm taking all your money and you're not getting anything. So it turns out all the savings accounts that he was setting up with his business addresses were all fake. So people would try to contact or try to go see him in person to talk about their account. It was fake, either empty buildings or the address wasn't real. Turns out he was really good at foraging things. They talk about it a little bit throughout the documentary, foraging things as a teenager and then as an adult. And he even made a fake bank logo, like a German international bank or investment bank or something. And he created this whole logo. And one of the guys that he had helped build a band with, they're called Natural. And he said he just saw him sketching up a logo one day, and then Lou was like, hey, does this look real? The guy's like, yeah, but like, what are you doing? And Lou's like, oh, no, it's just like a part of the business, like I have to create these things and no one's gonna look into it, and like, we're fine, we're good. And it's just like, oh no, that's shady. So he's already being shady with these saving accounts. Turns out he never owned airplanes, never rented out an airplane. So he would have these brochures for his transcontinental aviation or airline companies, aerial advertising, and it turns so there on the front of the brochure there's a picture of a plane at an airport. But it turns out it was somebody holding up like a toy airplane that they had transcontinental put on it. And then he took a picture of the person holding up the airplane at the airport, cropped out their hand, and then printed that as his brochure to show like, oh, look, here's our private plane that we have that we can rent to you. How fucking crazy is that? Like, it's so fishy. And it's just like these people who, I don't want to say brilliant, but it's these people that like use their powers for bad, right? Like he could have probably done so well legally if he went the correct routes. I mean, he still made a shit ton of money and because he stole from people and he lied to them. But like, imagine if he just pivoted and like actually did some good shit. Oh my goodness, he could be a bajillionaire. So turns out it was a Ponzi scheme. So no planes, no real investment accounts. He just stole money from people. They think he had $300 million invested over the time that he was doing this, was about 30 years. They said he probably made about $500 million in total just from all of his scheming and stealing and who knows what. He hid out in Bali for a bit because he knew that because offices were getting raided, all these things were happening. So he's like, I'm going to go to Bali, hid out there for a bit, was finally found, brought him back to the U.S. to be indicted. He ended up dying in prison in 2016 when he was getting a heart valve replacement done, and he didn't make it out of surgery. They think he took money from about 2,000 individuals and families over the course of more than 30 years, which turns out to be the longest Ponzi scheme in America, which is crazy. Like, the guy who gave us two of the biggest boy bands ever was a schemer the entire time. It's wild. NSYNC was my first official concert. I saw it here in Austin at the Frank Erwin Center. Oh, RIP if you know the Frank Erwin Center. It's not there anymore. It sucks. And just thinking about what he actually did, how many people he ripped off, how many families he ruined, just like how disgusting. Okay, but what I really liked about the documentary was all of the fashion and just seeing them back in the day. They were like sequins tops and snakeskin pants and like just the wildest early like 1990s Y2K style outfits. Justin Timberlake's curly ramen hair. All of that was just crazy. Okay, so watch Dirty Pop Scandal. I know I basically told you the end of it. But it's still great. If you like have some time and just want to have something on in the background, check out Dirty Pop Scandal on Netflix. All right, in other pop culture news, Lea Michelle gave birth to her second child. It's her daughter, Emery Soul. She was born on August 25th. So welcome, Virgo baby. This is her first girl with her husband, Zandy, who she has a 4-year-old son with. She posted a picture on her Instagram celebrating her birthday with cake and flowers and her two little loves. So congratulations to them. Did y'all see this interview with Channing Tatum talking about buying white t-shirts for an entire year? So he did an interview with GQ, and I'm going to read some of his quotes from a Complex article. Complex reviewed the video and then wrote this article about it. He said, I had one year that I called the year of the fresh white tee. And I don't think I did laundry all year that year. I just wore white t-shirts that I just bought. He's like, ooh, I can get like 2 wears out of this a week. This is going to be so good. He said he didn't hire anyone to do laundry for him. He said the year of the fresh white tee happened between 1999 and 2000. He was 20 years old, and this was about 6 years before Step Up, and then another 6 years from Magic Mike. Tatum didn't provide any other explanations to his anti-laundry era, such as where he left all those used white t-shirts piled up, whether he washed other clothes, nor how much he might have saved on detergent and water. But, like, is that cheaper than doing laundry? Also, is that a waste? I really hope he did like a mega wash of them all or something and then donated them or reused them as cleaning rags. If you know, those old white t-shirts, just tear them apart and they have little rags to dust. Yeah, what is that about? I don't know if that's something that's cool or not. Also, I saw Blink twice last weekend. Whoa. I left, like, my stomach was upset with just everything that happened in it. I was reading, I think the movie does trigger warnings at all theaters. I think it's just a part of the movie package. So if you go, make sure to read the trigger warning at the beginning of the film. It's pretty intense. There's a lot that happens. Pretty graphic, and yeah, it was directed really well, and the shots and some of the sounds, and just, it was really good, but it's pretty intense. If you can handle it, watch it. Maybe wait till it comes to stream where you can watch it at home. Okay. So let's talk about the Sabrina Carpenter, Shawn Mendes, Camila Cabello love triangle. So Short and Sweet, which is Sabrina Carpenter's new album, has been out for about a week now. And some people are speculating that there's some songs on the album that talk about the quick Sabrina and Shawn romance that was had for a little bit, and then goes to back to Shawn and Camila possibly getting back together. So Shawn and Camila dated for about 2 years. So I'm going to read an article from Betches. Betches broke down their relationship timeline, so I'm going to share that with you guys. Alrighty. February 19th, 2023. Dumois spreads rumors that Shawn and Sabrina are dating. So they were spotted clearly on a date, submitted that to Dumois for more details. They said they just looked very comfortable together, like there were sparks there, people were feeling each other, right? Like they seemed like they were together. February 27th, 2023. Shawn and Sabrina are seen going for a walk in LA. Which makes me think of the paparazzi pictures from Shawn and Camila's walk during COVID. Remember they were like walking all somberly down the street and you're like, did you guys call the paparazzi? Or they were just out and about. This was COVID times. I don't know. It makes me laugh. Okay. March 10th, 2023. Sabrina and Shawn leave Miley Cyrus's Endless Summer Vacation album release party together. Side note, that Endless Summer Vacation album is one of my favorite albums. I play that on repeat at least once a week. iconic album. You should totally listen to it. Jaded, rose-colored lenses, flowers. So good. Okay. They left together. They rushed into a car with their heads down. Who knows? Maybe they just wanted to save on gas. Okay, March 12th, 2023. Sabrina and Shawn are spotted hanging out at a Vanity Fair Oscars after party. At this point, it seemed pretty obvious that Shawn and Sabrina were at least casually seeing each other. Just a few days after their Miley date, they hung out at the Vanity Fair's Oscar party, and there's a clip of them leaning in close to each other and talking. Scandalous. All right, so the day after that, March 13th, 2023, a source tells Entertainment Tonight that Shawn and Sabrina are seeing each other. And if you're not watching this on video, I just did air quotes for seeing each other. A source finally confirms that Shawn and Sabrina are, in fact, dating. Shawn and Sabrina are seeing each other. They have been hanging out a lot and trying to keep things low-key. They were at a birthday party together a couple weeks ago and were so cute. Shawn is happy. 4 days after that, March 17th, 2023, Shawn claims that he and Sabrina are not dating. He just literally says, "We are not dating." You're like, okay, cool. And maybe they weren't officially dating. Maybe they were just having fun. But from the lyrics that we're getting in this new album from Sabrina, it sounds like she didn't know that they were having fun. Just having fun. Okay, April 15th, 2023, about a month after people were saying that they were dating, Shawn and Camila reunite and kiss at Coachella. Oh no. So about a year and a half after being broken up, Shawn and Camila had a PDA-filled reunion at Coachella, which resulted in them getting back together for a couple of months before breaking it off again. Okay, people think that there are a couple songs on Short and Sweet that are about this whole love triangle. Taste, obviously. That's one of the singles that was released. Yeah, it talks about like, oh, you're with him now. And I talked about this last week. Like, you're going to taste me when he's kissing you. It's literally a lyric. So that makes sense. There's another song called Dumb and Poetic. And she talks about this guy, like, being into meditation and being all spiritual and, like, which was so Shawn Mendes at the time. Like, I'm gonna find myself. Self-help books. All these things, which is funny. And then Sharpest Tool also talks about, like, oh, you went and you found God at your ex's house. Like, oh, now you're also into that. Yeah, that's fun. You want to know what else is fun? All three of them are performing at the VMAs in a couple weeks. They're not performing together, they're performing separately. I don't know. It's just really funny that they're all going to be performing at the VMAs. Oh, also Coincidence. I really like that song on Short and Sweet. There's a line that says, last week you didn't have any doubts. This week you're holding space for her tongue in your mouth. Ooh, what a line. I love it. If you haven't listened to Short and Sweet, you totally should. It's a bop. Alrighty. In some super awesome news, Ilona Maher, who was one of the breakout stars from this Olympics, she plays on the women's rugby 7 team, is the newest cover model? The newest cover model, yeah, of Sports Illustrated. So she's going to be on their digital cover that comes out in September. All right, let me check out what she said. So I'm sure you've seen the cover, the one that they put out. Ilona's in this like chocolate brown bikini, muscular, posing, looking so good. She says, I was always like, called masculine or whatever, but I never felt that way. I don't think you're going to bully the girl who could probably beat you up in a rage. I love that rugby showed me what I can do. It showed me how capable my body is, and it's not just like a tool to be looked at and objectified. Who earlier this summer led Team USA to its first bronze Olympic medal in rugby sevens at the Paris game, also spoke to Sports Illustrated about the salary disparity between male and female rugby players. She says men get to play rugby and they get paid millions of dollars while we make minimum wage, and this won't be a career for us. I have teammates going into the workforce now, whereas these guys are down there and rugby's it for them. So I'm glad that she's getting some recognition. I'm glad that she was speaking about, the salary disparities. I think with a lot more eyes on the WNBA now, I think there's a lot more focus on women's sports in the Olympics. Women made up a majority percentage of the medals won in this past Olympics, which was badass. So hopefully this just continues the conversation for equal pay, but that's been an issue for her as long as women have been in the workforce in general. So I don't know. It's just cool that she's out there on a global scale and gets to be a Sports Illustrated cover model. Like, that's badass. So congratulations to her. All right, speaking of the Olympics, the Paralympics started this week. So opening ceremonies were on Wednesday, and then the first day of play was Thursday. I watched the wheelchair rugby USA men's play, and then I watched the US men's basketball, wheelchair basketball, and then I was able to watch some of the swimming events too. I've seen one or two wheelchair basketball games in person. So my dad has a neuromuscular disease and uses a wheelchair, and it's always cool to see. It's been a while. I haven't watched it since I was a kid. Being able to see them compete is so cool. Their arm strength is gnarly. It's cool to see some of the adaptive supports for the Olympians, especially with swimming. There were some supports of helping the athlete get into the water, some helping them hold on because they don't have their limbs to be able to do it themselves. Some have a pole that taps them on the head to let them know that, hey, you're getting close to the wall. I think it just helps us understand that everyone needs people can need some sort of support. It's not going to be the same for everybody. It's not a cookie cutter or a one-size-fits-all type. There's also veterans competing in the Olympics. So there's 18 veterans and 3 active duty members that are competing in this current Paralympics, which I think is awesome. If you haven't watched the Paralympics, you should definitely check it out because it shows that whatever disability you have doesn't limit what you can do. Right? And it also shows that disabilities come in many forms. So there's going to be some that are physical, that you can see with your eye. There's going to be some that are cognitive, and some are vision impaired. So there's just a wide range of disabilities and maybe some neurological disorders that are able to be supported and celebrated in these Paralympics. I think it's really cool. As of yesterday, US was in 12th place in the medal count. We had 1 gold medal and 6 silver medals. So check it out. It ends on September 8th, and it's showing on NBC networks, the USA Network, and on Peacock too. All right, we got some Golden Globes hosting news. Nikki Glaser was announced as the host for the 2025 Golden Globes. In an article from Variety, Nikki says, I am absolutely thrilled to be hosting the Golden Globes. It's one of my favorite nights of television, and now I get a front row seat. Actually, I think I have to host from the stage. The Golden Globes is not only a huge night for TV and film, but also for comedy. It's one of the few times that show business not only allows, but encourages itself to be lovingly mocked. At least I hope so. She says, it's an exciting yet challenging gig because it's live, unpredictable, and in the front of Hollywood's biggest stars, who might also be getting wasted while seated next to their recent exes. If you watched the roast of Tom Brady, she was the star of that roast, I would say. She had some fantastic jokes. She's a comedian. She's done roasts before, so I think she's gonna be great. I hope she roasts some of them. And this article, she said, the article from Variety continues, some of my favorite jokes of all time have come from past Golden Globes opening monologues when Tina, Amy, or Ricky have said exactly what we all didn't know we desperately needed to hear. I just hope to continue in that time-honored tradition that might also get me canceled. This is truly a dream job. Plus, I no longer have to feel guilty for every TV show and movie I've binged over the last year. It was all worth it. And then she says, Below Deck Sailing Yacht Season 4 will be nominated, right? All roads lead back to Bravo, y'all. So congratulations to Nikki. That's so cool. She's not going to see this podcast, but congratulations, Nikki. Oh, okay. We have 2 divorce things to talk about today. One I'm going to talk about now. One I'm going to talk about in our Bravo breakdown. Jax and Brittany. All right. One of my favorite actresses, Lea Remini, announced that her and her husband Angelo are getting divorced. They're divorcing after 21 years married and 28 years together. In an article from Today, it says the pair announced their separation, revealing that they are filing for divorce in a joint statement posted on Instagram on August 29th. They posted a throwback picture of themselves alongside what appears to be a more recent photo of the pair. The post said, "Well, here we are. After 28 years together and 21 years of marriage, we have decided to file for divorce. This decision came after a lot of thought and care, and as hard as divorce is, we are approaching this with a positive outlook because we know it's what's best for us." It continues, "Yes, we are sad and we've got some figuring out to do as we continue to move forward in our new normal. Together still in many ways and apart in some new ones. But here's the thing. We've been best friends for so many years. We are still celebrating holidays together, watching our favorite TV shows together, and gathering as a family. So the big question, why? To put it simply, we both changed, as people do. We got used to playing roles that didn't fit us anymore." They wrote, after a lot of effort and consideration, they decided to take the step to divorce. While their bond is still strong, they wrote that they have evolved into something different. "We think a marriage that's lasted this long and created so many beautiful memories, especially raising our incredible daughter, is something to celebrate." The statement continued, calling their marriage a huge success. She says, as they go into unknown territory in the next stage of their personal lives, they would love for everyone to have more access to different kinds of relationship stories and not feel so isolated in navigating the changes that millions of couples make every year. They hope that their journey can inspire others to see that relationships, whether they end or not, aren't failures. I grew up watching King of Queens. Sometimes I still catch it late at night. Between that and The Nanny and Friends. I watched their reality show, the TLC show, It's All Relative. I thought it was so fun. And then I also watched their Scientology series that she had, I think, on A&E. So it just sucks, but if it's the best thing for them, then good. Sometimes that's what you need. Just like do whatever's best for you and know that you have your family first. And right, like marriage isn't for everybody. I remember she already got her associate's degree from NYU. And now she's working on her bachelor's degree, so that's super awesome. It's also crazy that her and J-Lo were besties. Like, they met through when J-Lo was with Mark Anthony, and he was friends with Lea and her husband. And they would like go dancing together, and then so they became besties, and then J-Lo's getting divorced, and then Leah's getting divorced, and I don't know. There were some reports when J-Lo and Ben were getting together for the second time, Lea was against it, and so I think they had a little riff in their friendship, and so maybe they'll reconnect now that they are both in new stages of their lives. I don't know, but again, if this was best for them, then who the fuck am I to say anything else about it? Okay, I want to talk about some TV and movie things that came out this week. A lot going on. Okay, we might be getting a Ted Lasso season 4. In an article from Deadline, it says Warner Brothers Television has picked up the option, which means they're continuing to work with the actor or the cast member or the set person with 3 OGs. Hannah Waddingham, who was the AFC Richmond owner, Brett Goldstein, who played Roy Kent, and then Jeremy Swift, who played the director of football operations, Leslie Higgins. They're still reaching out to other cast members to see if they want to join. They said they're going to leave it up to Jason Sudeikis completely if he wants to reprise his role as Ted Lasso or not, or maybe take more of a director-producer role or writing role. So season 3 ended with Keely and Rebecca possibly partnering for a new venture, possibly a women's football league, and then all the other players were like doing all these little things. Like, it all ended happily. And then Ted went back to the United States, and we got a clip of him coaching his son's soccer team in Kansas. I'm here for a women's football-centric show. That sounds cool. I think it would still be hilarious and witty and wonderful. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know. There's no other information out about it. It sounds like they're just trying to put feelers out and see who would be involved in a season 4. So, yay! I would love that. That would be so cool. Okay, Hulu has picked up a new TV show. It's called Mid-Century Modern, and it's from the creators of Will and Grace and executive produced by Ryan Murphy, who I'm starting to think is just a robot at this point because Ryan Murphy is doing everything these days. So, Mid-Century Modern is going to star Nathan Lane, Matthew Bomer, and Nathan Lee Graham, and Linda Lavin. So the Nathans and Matt are 3 besties who decide to spend the rest of their lives together. They live together now in Palm Springs. Linda Lavin is playing Nathan Lane's mother. There was like a big death that happened, and then they made them like have a wake-up call and be like, life is too short, like, let's have fun, let's all live together, and let's navigate what the rest of our lives are going to look like. They're all at different stages in their lives. If it's anything like Will and Grace, I'm 100% into this. I didn't see a premiere date for this yet. I could have missed it, but I didn't see one. So we'll see. I'm excited about it. I loved Will and Grace. I just hope it's like witty and snappy, just like Will and Grace was back in the day. So yeah, that show is called Mid-Century Modern, if you want to check it out. Alrighty, if you love murder mysteries, murder podcasts, anything murder without it being illegal, then you should check out Based on a True Story. It's exclusively on Peacock. First season came out last year. We're gearing up for the second season, which will be released in November. So there's an article about it from USA Today. So the first season focuses on a couple who creates a true crime podcast because the wife is obsessed with it. They end up crossing paths with a serial killer and use him to help tell the story of killings. The season ends with them cleaning up a crime scene, and somebody walks in and there's like blood everywhere, and he's like, what are y'all doing? Cliffhanger there. The second season is supposed to be a new killer has emerged in the streets and is like a mimicking other killers' crimes, but the person's also really obsessed with the serial killer obsessions that like everyone else has. So I think from what I got in the article, the new serial killer kind of plays to the audience's obsession with it. Sounds wild. So this stars Kaylee Cuoco and Chris Messina, who is Danny. Oh my goodness. Why am I blanking on his name? Oh my goodness, I'm blanking on his name. Danny from the Mindy Project. Danny. Oh my goodness, this is going to drive me crazy. I have to look it up. Danny Castellano. So they star in the show. They're going to keep up with their podcast, but there's now a new killer on the streets. So they have to navigate that. They also have a baby. So navigating the baby, the murders, the podcast, and like still being together. Kaylee Cuoco did an interview and she said she got really into court TV while they had a break from filming. Like she would be listening to different trials all day long, like doing the dishes, playing with her, well, not playing with her daughter, but like doing the dishes, working around the house, doing all these things. Like she always had court TV on. And so now she feels like she really is more like her character, where she does have this true crime obsession. So that'll be cool seeing her obsession be on the show. So yeah, based on a true story is what the show's called. Season 2, like I said, is going to be out in November. So we still have a couple months for it. Okay. Another Ryan Murphy show, because again, he's a robot. So it was announced that Ryan Murphy is doing the second installment of his Monsters show series. The first one was Dahmer. I could barely get through Dahmer. I think I watched 2, maybe 3 episodes, and then it was just like, it was just too much. So I never finished it, but we know what happens. So his second installment of Monsters is going to be around the Menendez brothers. Big scandal that happened back in the day where they killed their parents. This actually happened in 1989. They were convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. So we get a teaser, and it's the family sitting down for some nice, cringy family portraits that you would take at, like, JCPenney or Sears. And, like, all the family's awkward, and you can tell, like, the parent, like, just everyone's faces. It's just like, okay, we're going to pretend like we're happy, we're good. Everyone just looks really uncomfortable. There's a voiceover. It's the mom telling the husband, like, I need to know what's going on with you and the boys. He says, what are you talking about? She says, I don't want there to be any more lies between us. He says he's going to make it right. She says, just tell me, like, I won't tell anyone. I need to know what's going on. He says, it's over. I'm going to fix the family. And then we get a scene of the boys walking into the house. And then they, if you don't know, they kill their parents. So Javier Bardem plays the father, Chloe Sevigny plays the mother, and then the brothers are played by Nicholas Alexander Chavez and Cooper Koch. So it looks really, really good. Monsters comes out September 19th, so we get that in a couple weeks. Yeah, it's a wild story. If you don't know anything about it, you should look it up because it's crazy. Alrighty. Beetlejuice premiered at Venice Film Festival this week, and it's the sequel to the 1988 Beetlejuice movie with Michael Keaton, Catherine O'Hara, and Winona Ryder. So I have loved all the fashions from this Beetlejuice Beetlejuice promotion, Jenna Ortega has been wearing some amazing fits, some really nice, sleek, like jacket pant sets. There was even one where her purse was the Beetlejuice house. There's this one, she wore this like really beautiful red tulle dress, which is an ode to one of the dresses that Winona Ryder wore back in the original Beetlejuice movie premiere. There's another one, there's like this deep olive colored dress that she wears. Oh my goodness, everything's looked so good. Okay. So I'm going to read just some of what Tim Burton said, who's the director, in the Associated Press. He said, "I'm not out to do a big sequel for money. I wanted to make this for very personal reasons." He said, "This movie was made with like scrappy and improvisational energy." He said, "The cast and crew were often making puppets on the spot." He said he didn't go back and watch the original Beetlejuice. He just remembered the spirit of it and how he felt making it, and trusted the characters, the returning characters, to bring back that same energy. And he kind of wanted just to not be influenced by any of what the original one was. Still be an ode to it, but he wanted to make it without having that in the back of his head, I guess. He says it's not going to win any Academy Awards for special effects. It doesn't matter. It's part of the DNA of the project. So the film finds Winona Ryder's character Lydia is now the host of a cheesy ghost hunting television show. Her stepmother, played by Catherine O'Hara, and then her daughter is played by Jenna Ortega. Her name's Astrid. They go back to the old Winter River home. Astrid is not into ghosts. She doesn't believe in them. Nothing like her mom. And we get two new additions to the movie. Justin Theroux plays Lydia's sleazy boyfriend and manager, and then Willem Dafoe plays a dead cop and an actor. Tim Burton said, "It was getting back to doing the things I love doing the way I love doing them and the people I love doing them with. I realized that's the only way for it to be a success. I have to love doing it. It didn't matter how it turned out. I just enjoyed and loved making it with all of these people." He said it's a weird family movie. So Beetlejuice premieres in theaters on September 6th. It looks really good. Again, I've just loved all the outfits from all of the press around it. It looks really awesome. Okay, let's talk football. So Peacock premiered a new show into the college football world. So Notre Dame is getting a 7-episode docuseries that follow them during this current football season. It's called Here Comes the Irish. We're going to get behind the scenes footage of them training and practicing and meeting, getting ready for the upcoming season. There's going to be some interviews with coaches and some of the players. The episode schedule is a little different than a normal TV episode schedule that we're used to. So 2 of the episodes are actually out now on Peacock. Episodes 1 and 2 were just released on the 25th of August. And then episodes 3 through 6 are going to come out in December, with the final episode airing January 2025. Which, just even thinking that next year is going to be 2025 is wild. So I guess they're filming the whole series now and then are just going to release it later on. Maybe so that there's like not so much pressure on the players during the season, or there's not a lot of press out about it while they're playing to help not distract them as much, I guess. I'm not sure, but I'll be checking that out. It sounds awesome. I love football. I love football things. We were just watching Hard Knocks last night. The Chicago Bears are the Hard Knocks team this year. I'm going to really try to not draft all of the Bears players in my fantasy drafts because I always do that every year. Okay, we're getting another football-esque show. If you're football fans, I don't know. Do y'all remember when Eli Manning dressed up, created this character called Chad Powers, and he dressed up, had like prosthetics and makeup and all this stuff, and he went to try out for the Penn State football team? It was really funny. So he did that for his ESPN Plus series he had called Eli's series. If you haven't watched it, you should look up a clip on YouTube. It's really, really funny. He's like running routes with the players, throwing it down the field, like being just like a Super Bowl quarterback like he is. And all the guys are like, dang, he's like throwing bombs down. Like, this is wild. Look at his footwork. Wow, his footwork's so great. And then it like turns out, oh, this is literally Eli Manning. So Glenn Powell is going to star in a series based on Eli's character, and the show is actually called Chad Powers. Alrighty, so in an article from Variety, it says Glenn Powell is nearly unrecognizable in the first look at his upcoming Hulu series, Chad Powers. The official description of the series states, when bad behavior nukes hotshot QB Russ Holiday's college career, he disguises himself and walks onto a struggling Southern football team as the talented, affable Chad Powers. Eli and his brother Peyton are going to be executive producers on this show, so that's cool. There isn't a premiere date for it. Maybe spring, I'm guessing. Maybe sometime around the Super Bowl it'll premiere. That would be cool. Glenn Powell is getting it. He is a booked and busy dude. But it sounds cool. Again, if you like football and you didn't see that Eli Manning, Chad Powers thing, you should look it up on YouTube because it's really freaking funny. Yeah, it sounds cool. All right, let's start with our Bravo breakdown. The first thing we're going to get into is the Tom Girardi trial. So in an article from NBC, it says the former Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Tom Girardi, which made me laugh because he's like not a star of the show. The disbarred attorney was found guilty Tuesday in the embezzlement of millions of dollars from his former clients. A federal jury in Los Angeles convicted Girardi, the 85-year-old estranged husband of the Real Housewives star Erika Jayne, on 4 wire fraud charges. The charges alleged that he stole money from his clients over a decade, including $3 million from the relatives of the victims of the 2018 Lion Air crash, which killed 189 people. He pled not guilty last year, and his sentencing is scheduled for December 6th. One of the special agents that was in charge of the IRS criminal investigation says that Girardi exploited his clients' misfortunes on a grand scale. His clients sought his help in the wake of significant trauma and injury, yet he violated their trust to steal from them and fund his own lavish lifestyle. He will now face the consequences of his actions. Investigators with the FBI and the IRS were tipped off by victims who reached out across districts, officials said on Tuesday. The U.S. Attorney Office for the Central District of California said the 13-day trial showed that Girardi misappropriated and embezzled millions of dollars from his clients' trust accounts. Federal prosecutors alleged that Girardi used his role as a high-profile attorney to take money from the clients whom he represented in cases involving severe injuries. Girardi's public defender filed court documents indicating he planned to blame his law firm's former chief financial officer, who was being tried separately. one of the firm's accounting employees testified that there was a secret bank account to which funds were transferred that Girardi appeared to have no knowledge of. The employee also testified that by late 2020, Girardi had already appeared to be in a cognitive decline. She testified that Girardi couldn't remember shit. He was delusional and there was nothing that could be done. It was only this past January that Girardi was deemed competent to stand trial. His attorney argued that he had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease and was unable to take part in the proceedings. Authorities have frozen Girardi's assets, and he's been living in an assisted living facility. Girardi is widely known for his role in the 1993 groundwater contamination lawsuit against Pacific Gas and Electric, which was the case that inspired the 2000s movie Erin Brockovich, starring Julia Roberts. It says, but Girardi is best known for his time on the Bravo reality series The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, on which he and his wife showed off an extravagant lifestyle. Jane is one of the main stars of the show, and the legal battles surrounding her estranged husband have become a central storyline for her in recent seasons. The U.S. Attorney's Office said that Girardi diverted more than $25 million from his firm's operating account to pay the expenses of EG Global, which was a company formed for Erika Jayne's entertainment career. The federal prosecutors say that is in addition to the millions spent on private jet travel, jewelry, luxury cars, and exclusive clubs. If you want to see how this kind of came about on the show, I'd go back 5 seasons of Beverly Hills, I would say. Like right when Erika joins the cast and she's showing off all the money, the cars, her big house, private jets that they use, just all these things. And then now you're like, ooh, it's yucky. Erika Jayne was also named in the lawsuit, alleging she knew about her husband's embezzlement. She says she had no idea, and she was dismissed from the lawsuit back in 2022. The couple are separated. Jane filed for divorce in 2020, shortly after the allegations against Girardi emerged. She says that was struggled to be granted the divorce because of his mental and physical decline. Erika Jayne has repeatedly denied having known of Girardi's fraud and has not been criminally charged in any related cases. So, great that this is finally over, at least almost over, just his sentencing in December, but it's been an ongoing thing. It's been 4 years since it came out. Just really horrible and trashy, and glad that it finally all caught up to him, I guess. Right? It's gonna follow you. It's gonna catch up to you no matter what happens. Okay. In other Bravo news, did y'all see that Vicki Gunvalson, I said her last name weird, Vicki Gunvalson almost died? So, in an article from E! News, it says Vicki Gunvalson is lucky to be alive after a recent health scare. The Real Housewives of Orange County star revealed she suffered stroke-like symptoms last week while at work. She said she had a client come in, and the client said that Vicki was just talking gibberish. She wrote an email out. The email made no sense. She didn't realize that she was behaving weird until her boyfriend's daughter was like, I think you might be having a stroke. She says she doesn't remember anything. The boyfriend's daughter took her to the hospital. She was diagnosed with a sinus infection and was released from the hospital and was left to go back home. It's like, if these were really severe symptoms, stroke-like symptoms, let's keep her overnight. Let's run some more tests. Let's make sure she's okay. Not, oh, hey, sinus infection, you're good. See you later. That's not okay. Vicki's boyfriend says Vicki got home, decided she wanted to take a bath. He said, okay. He went in to check on her, and she was, pretty much passed out, almost unconscious. Good thing he went and checked on her at that time. Who knows what would have happened. He got her out of the water, put her in bed. She went to the doctor the next day, Turns out she had a massive infection in her body. It was like sepsis, but it was pneumonia. It was such a severe case of pneumonia that her body was just fighting this infection like crazy. It says the way they explained it is that when your body is fighting that big of an infection, your whole body attacks everything it has to fight off this infection. That's why she was like delirious and couldn't remember things. Her body was like working overtime trying to fight whatever infection she had. They told her that she had like a 10 to 20% chance of survival because she did end up having sepsis, so it's spreading to your entire body. So they were just saying you are lucky that you survived this and that you're okay. She says right now her energy level's super low. She can't remember things. She said she just, like the 3 days of her being that intensely sick was just a complete blur to her. But her boyfriend's helping her out, giving her medication, making sure she is getting a lot of rest and whatnot. But goodness, it's scary how quickly something like that can happen. So glad that she's doing all right. Okay. In some Summer House cast news, Amanda Batula is coming out with a swim collection in collaboration with South Moon Under. So in an article from Reality Blurb, it says, Amanda Batula hosted an event for her swim line, Amanda Batula Swim, in New York on Wednesday night. Weeks after teasing her new line on Instagram with a video of herself signing her name on design drawings, the 33-year-old Summer House cast member, who stepped back from her and her husband's Loverboy company last year to pursue her swimline dreams, was joined by her co-stars to celebrate the collection's upcoming release. It says, earlier this month in a joint Instagram post, South Moon Under and Amanda officially announced the impending debut of her swim line, Amanda Batula Swim, saying it was coming soon and would be sold exclusively at South Moon Under. Amanda Batula Swim is set to hit South Moon Under locations early next year and will offer bikini tops for women with larger breast sizes. Amanda says, I wanted to do something for me and a project that I felt passionate about. I didn't want to just come out with anything that's sort of already out there. So I thought about where, in my mind, there was a gap in the market, and I was having a hard time finding bathing suits that fit me the way I wanted them to fit and were comfortable, adjustable, and supportive. After expressing interest in the project on Summer House, it's a reality TV show on Bravo, South Moon Under reached out. They were like, hey, I want to help you make this thing a reality. And Amanda's like, I'm not good with the logistics, with all the business side, but I'm good with being creative. So if I can be the creative for this, absolutely. Amanda's new line will drop in 3 separate collections and will be priced from $60 to $180. So cool. Congratulations to Amanda. She's finally getting her swim line. That's super awesome. I'm glad it became a reality for her, not just something that she talked about doing. So now she has her own passion project, her own thing to work on, not just being joined in Loverboy. If this makes no sense to you, go watch Summer House. But if it does make sense to you, then you know we're happy for Amanda. We're happy that she's doing her own thing now. Okay. One more Bravo breakdown thing. Jax and Brittany are getting divorced. So Jax and Brittany, we first saw their relationship start on Vanderpump Rules. Jax was one of the OG Vanderpump Rules cast members back in 2011, I think is when the show started. Brittany joined in about season 4. But now they're getting divorced, which is honestly probably the best thing for them. So in an article from Us Weekly, it says, Jax Taylor was served divorce papers on camera while filming season 2 of Bravo's The Valley, a reality spinoff of Vanderpump Rules. The news, which was first reported by TMZ on Wednesday, August 28th, came one day after Brittany filed to divorce from Taylor after 5 years of marriage. Per court documents obtained by Us Weekly on Tuesday, August 27th, she listed their official date of separation as January 24th. Cartwright cited irreconcilable differences as the reason for the split and is seeking primary primary legal and physical custody of their 3-year-old son, Cruz, with visitation for Jax. According to TMZ, Cartwright, who stars on The Valley alongside her ex, filmed footage for the show on the day that she filed, but her and Jax did not film together. Earlier in August, Jax completed his month-long inpatient treatment for mental health struggles. His rep told Us Weekly in a statement, Jax has spent the last 30 days in treatment and will be heading back home later this week. It's been an emotional month for him, and he's mostly looking forward to spending time with his son. Brittany and Jax's relationship has endured many highs and lows over the years. Like I said, they first met, season 4 of the show, they met when they were both in Vegas in 2015. Brittany joined season 4 of Vanderpump Rules the following year. They had their own spin-off series when they were planning their wedding called Vanderpump Rules, Jax and Brittany Take Kentucky. That's where Brittany's from. That aired back in 2017. Wow, I can't believe it was that long ago. Despite a cheating scandal on Vanderpump Rules, that was like one of the biggest cheating scandals. There were a lot of cheating scandals, but everyone thought that Brittany had changed Jax from his party, playboy, cheating ways. They really thought he had turned a new leaf. Nope, he cheated on her. It was a huge thing. They worked through it. They got engaged the following year, got married the year after that, and then left Vanderpump Rules the year after that in 2020. Brittany says Jax needs to go to therapy. He doesn't need to be staying out at the bar all the time. He needs to respect me more and stop taking me for granted. She did an interview with Us Weekly back in April about this. She says, I was the closest person to him and was kind of like his punching bag. He was always giving me jabs. I can't deal with that for the rest of my life. She added, but I won't waste my time and get back in a toxic situation. Now the veil has been lifted and I see how much I was cleaning up Jax's messes. I'm thrown in the middle of all these fights and constantly forced to apologize for him in the media and to his friends, and it's hard. Good for you, Brittany. You should have a partner in your life, right? Not someone that you need to change, or someone that needs changing, or right, like you can support your partner, right, and always being a better person, but at some point they need to take responsibility and grow up themselves. So good for her for finally taking a stand, especially when kids are involved, right? You just want to make sure they are growing up in the best environment for them, and both of them realizing that what they were in wasn't the best environment, I think is really good. It's all going to play out on The Valley. Brittany spoke about it a little bit on their podcast that they have together. She said a lot of it's been filmed. She can't speak too much on it, but we'll see how everything unfolds when The Valley premieres. So, there's going to be a lot of people probably tuning in for that if you're a Vanderpump Rules fan. We can all see what happens now. All right, the last thing in our Bravo breakdown is Bravo did a this fall preview. We got like a 30-second clip the other day of upcoming Real Housewives shows that we're going to get. So I just want to break down that little 30-second trailer with you guys real quick. So it opens with the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and Dorit is saying, "This is not real," and Sutton claps back at her and it's like, "This is as real as it gets." I totally want to know what they're talking about. Kyle Richards then yells, "I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore." She storms off. I feel like we could probably get a montage at this point of her saying that or something similar with a good like walk-off montage. We always get that with our housewives. And then it just cuts to Garcelle going, "Wow." She has this really cute sparkly silver cowboy hat on, kind of like Cowboy Carter-esque. So like that. It then cuts to Real Housewives of Potomac, Wendy's in sunglasses and this pearl jeweled gown, saying it's time to turn up. Looks like it's some sort of girl trip. I've watched all of Potomac except the last season, I'd say. There have been some cast changes for this upcoming season. Candace is gone. I really like Candace, but she's pregnant now, so it's probably good, like, protect her peace and take care of her baby instead of being in all this drama. I'll give the new season a shot. see how it is with the cast changes. Robin Dixon also isn't going to be back. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. And then Wendy's in a boat, like a speedboat. Oops. She's in a speedboat that looks like a car. I don't know. It looks hella bougie and rich. And then Karen, the Grande Dame of Potomac, the self-appointed Grande Dame of Potomac, walks in and she's like, what's going on? And then it cuts to Ashley and Mia. So yeah, some sort of girls trip or girls lunch or something. We then get Real Housewives of New York. It opens with Brynn, our resident flirt, and a confessional saying there's more to be seen. I'm really excited for her tagline this season. Her tagline last season was, I love to laugh, but make me mad and I'll date your dad. I was like, yes. So random, but yes, I love it. Then we get a Jenna Lyons confessional, and she's saying, who doesn't feel better when adorned in diamonds? And it's a clip with a massive ass ring. I don't know if it's on her finger. It's not an engagement ring. It's like on her middle finger, someone's middle finger. And then Jenna's putting a necklace, like a really gorgeous diamond necklace on Brynn. So maybe they're having a little dress up day. That would be cute. And then our little fall preview ends with Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. All the girls are at dinner, and Lisa's yelling at Meredith, you want me to be your villain? I'll be your villain. And then we get another scene of Angie, and she's talking to Meredith, and she just brings this scroll out of her bag, and it like opens perfectly coming out of her bag. And she's just like, here are a few things that I would like an apology for. And I know I said in last week's episode that if you start using props in your show, you're done. But I love how this prop was used. So I'm going to flip-flop on that. And I think if the prop is used well, it makes me laugh. And I think it should stay. And then it ends with Mary from Salt Lake City saying, oh, Lord. But it looks like she's in the silk boxing robe. It has like a hood. It's yellow. Maybe it's Versace. It's kind of like that Versace yellow gold. But it just reminded me of like a boxing person. And they're like walking out. I don't know, it made me laugh. Also, if none of that made sense to you, thanks for listening anyway. But go watch The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Potomac, New York, and Salt Lake City. Go watch them all. They're good. I would start with Beverly Hills. Know that The Real Housewives of New York is a reboot. So last year was the first season of the rebooted cast. So it's a totally different vibe. Nothing gets better than OG Real Housewives of New York, though. Like, back in the day, one of the greatest housewife shows ever. They rebooted the cast. They're not doing too bad, though. They're doing good. I'm excited for their second season now that, like, the first year jitters are out. They're seasoned now. They know what it's going to be like. They've gone through a reunion. I hope it's still good. Anywho. Alrighty, that is all the garbage talk for now. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to put out another episode after this with my Real Housewives of Dubai and Real Housewives of Orange County recaps for the week. I'm going to keep them kind of short. I know I say that every time and then I just end up talking a lot. So I'm going to talk about my 5 favorite things from those episodes this week. Don't forget to like and comment and subscribe to us everywhere that we are. Spotify and YouTube, and then Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok. Follow, like, subscribe, comment. I want to know what you like, what you're into, what you've liked so far in this podcast. All those fun things. Check out episodes new week. Like I said, don't forget to follow us. And just thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate it, and I love you guys. All right, have a good day, and until next time, bye y'all.